Trisha Goddard
on Talk Radio.
So, a cancer survivor happens to bump into her former oncologist in a park. And what that led to is, I believe, a wake-up call for all of us. So I'd like to introduce Nicky Marks, who I think we've got a lot in common, and I'm fascinated to hear her story. Nicky, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Trisha. Really, thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so let's go back. I think you actually are a breast cancer survivor. When did you first have breast cancer?
So I was first diagnosed in 2008.
Oh,
a year that's probably very familiar to you.
Yeah.
Just a few months after you, actually. So it's quite ironic that we should be talking today, because you were very much my inspiration at that time, because you just finished your journey as I was just starting mine. So I was literally being given masses of magazines and things in hospital, and it was all Trisha's surviving her cancer. So thank you to you for all your inspirational stories. So there we are. That's quite ironic.
Oh wow, so yes, that brings a tear to the eye and a lump to the throat, because
you were very much a part of my journey then. And but yes, I was diagnosed, and as you well know what that feels like, it's an absolute devastation, nothing that anybody ever wants to hear.
No.
So I was diagnosed. At the time I had a 3-year-old son and 2 teenagers of 12 and 13, and life just sort of took a big nosedive. And you know, in my head, you get cancer and you die. So in my head, I was just going to die. I would never see my children get married. I would never see them graduate. I would never see my son be bar mitzvahed. And all the things that flashes through your head, and then you go on your journey, and suddenly this whirlwind journey starts. Most of which I've kind of has gone into oblivion now. But it starts.
Did you have? I'm guessing you had surgery, chemo?
Well, I was 39, so they pretty much gave me the works. I had a lumpectomy, followed by chemo, followed by radio, and then I had Herceptin and tamoxifen and everything.
Yes.
And as the years went by, and you probably can relate to this, Trisha, you kind of put it's the first thing that you think about in the morning. And then as the years go by, it starts to move to, you know what, it's still there. It never goes, but it's not the first thing you think about when you wake up in the morning. And, you know, it does change your whole perspective on life.
It sure does. So, but you do think, even the term survivor, it's behind you.
Yeah.
I mean, it might have been traumatic. Well, it is traumatic. I mean, my children were teenagers, and it still affects all of us in different ways. It doesn't go away, but you still see it's something in the past. But I don't know if you're the same. I go for tests every single year because mine was very aggressive, and you go through that whole what if. But I'm fascinated. What happened? You were out. And you
I was being seen every year until I got to 10 years. And then under the NHS, you're then discharged. And then it's a kind of, my breast surgeon did say to me, you've got a choice now. You can either come and see me privately every year, or you've now turned 50. So you'll get your mammogram on the NHS, your 50-year-old mammogram, and you can make a decision, because the stress that goes with having that mammogram and the panic of actually having the mammogram, waiting for those results, as you know. So you have to weigh that up as to really, do you want to go through that anxiety? So
I have to say I do. I have to say I do, because I've got to deal with my so you know, you go through the ultrasound and the mammograms and the tests and what have you, and I had problems with eyes and things like that, but I have a deal with my doctor that I stay there at the hospital until they get the results, because God help if they came back. I cannot wait. I'm not sitting there going home and waiting, you know.
But and it is the wait. It's the worst thing. It's not the worst thing of having the test. The tests are a piece of cake. It's the waiting for the results and the anxiety that causes. So I completely understand that. So I did go for my 50-year-old one, and then I just put it away, and I kind of thought, you know what, I've cracked this, I'm doing really good. And I didn't think about it. So I wasn't due another mammogram for another 2 years. But quite a lot of people, I put on quite a lot of weight during lockdown, and I was eating for England. And then my daughter, who lives in America, said to me, Mum, you know what, I'm going to start to get fit and healthy. And I said, I'm going to join you. Let's do something. So I downloaded the Couch to 5K app, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to start running. And so I started running, and it was hard. It was not easy. And I started running, and I ran a little bit faster and a little bit longer. And I was out running one day, and I saw this man in the park, and I just thought, recognize him. And as you know, I kept on running, and I thought, and as I was running, I thought, that was definitely my breast surgeon from 13 years ago. Came home, and I said to my two best friends, Denise and Joe, I'm sure I saw my breast surgeon in the park. And they said to me, why didn't you stop him? And I thought, what am I meant to say to him? Hello, I'm one of your survivors. And they both said, you have to stop him. And I made them a promise that if I saw him again, I will stop him. So I went out.
When you did stop him, what did he say to you?
Well, I went the following week, and there he was. He literally just appeared in front of me, a bit like in the animation, the old Mr. Ben, when he appears, the shopkeeper just appeared, and he just appeared in front of me. And I said, excuse me, are you Mr. Jaffe? He said, yes. And I thought, oh, thank God, I'm not going to make a fool of myself.
And what did he say to you?
I said, I'm one of your survivors. And he said to me, please tell me you still get checked regularly. And I said, well, you know, I'm probably due for it. And he said, I will see you on Tuesday morning at my surgery, make an appointment tomorrow with my secretary, and I'll see you on Tuesday. And he just disappeared. So,
and just to go through, so we don't run out of time, because I think this is the most important thing. So you turn up, and basically you found out what?
So I went for that appointment. I had a mammogram, and the radiographer comes out, and she said, we found something on your other breast. And I don't need to tell you, I mean, my whole world just collapsed. I just couldn't believe that. I feel so fit. I've never felt so fit and so well in all of my life, mentally and physically. I've worked really hard on myself.
So and what's ahead? What's ahead of you now? What's ahead?
Well, I just thought, here we go again. And a barrage of biopsies confirmed that, yes, indeed, it was a new breast cancer. Thankfully, it hasn't spread anywhere. And so it will be a lumpectomy in 6 weeks' time, and followed by radiotherapy. And I'm praying not to have chemo, but you know what, if I do, I've done this journey before, Trisha, I'll do it again.
Yeah, and it's things have come quite a long way since we had chemo. Sure. I know, because when my sister went through breast cancer, she even then, and I know it's even that's not that helps at all. It's something. Now, I personally, if my breast cancer comes back, and as I say, I have it every year, I've said, if my breast cancer comes back, that's it. Boobs are going. I'm going to have double mastectomy. That's it.
Yeah.
And each one of us is different. But and
I don't know. Yeah, it is something that I would have to consider as well. But I think the fact is, and I pray you never ever have to hear that diagnosis, but it's never as bad the second time. I feel like you've walked that walk before, and actually, do you know what, the fear? It's just not the same. I don't have a 3-year-old child anymore and teenage children. I have grown-up children now. I did see them, my daughter get married. I did see my son be bar mitzvahed and graduate. And actually, I'm so grateful for that as well. But I did think to myself, I'm not going to spend 6 weeks going into a deep depression and put the duvet over my head and say, I've got cancer, and wake up every morning with this depression. I've got to do something positive with this now. And I feel that, my son suffered a lot with his mental health during lockdown, and we spent a lot of time telling him, you always have a choice. You can either choose love or you can choose fear. And I don't want to choose that fearful road anymore. I want to do something positive. I set up this Just Giving page to raise money for a hospital that's really close to our hearts and my family's hearts. I started off with the £500. I thought if I get £500, we're on nearly 10,000. It's taken off. And the inspiration that it's called, people are phoning me saying, I've joined a gym now because of you and I'm doing this. So I'm,
well, that's the thing. That's the thing, Nicky, as well. This time round, you're going into it. I'm the same. I mean, I was fit before, and I had to work all the way through. Don't ask me how, but I didn't have a choice. But I had to work all the way through. I did it, you know, but I'm a lot fitter now. And stronger. And like you say, we've been there and we've done it, and the words are still scary as hell. But we know there's light at the end of the tunnel if things are caught early. And I think that's, I'm sure with me, our messages would be, and especially under lockdown, people put off things. Don't.
I know. Don't do it. Just get checked. Please get checked, because you couldn't even feel my lump. And I did say to my breast surgeon, if I hadn't have bumped into you in the park and I'd have waited 2 years for my next mammogram, and he just shook his head, he said, we would not be having this conversation now.
Whoa.
So you know what? I'm so blessed. I really am. And I'm so fortunate. And I'm, you know, I feel lucky. Strangely enough, I feel lucky, and I've been so supported. My sister in Israel she's swimming every day until my surgery. I'm running every day. My son works on the cruise ships. He's running every day on the cruise ships, around the ship. And we've all kind of joined. My daughter is donating all of her tips she runs a salon in America. So you know what, we're all joining in as a big family effort. So and the dog as well, who's sitting
dog's sitting there. For those of you watching, you've got a gorgeous dog there. But the whole thing is, and we should say, not just breast cancer, although of course Nicky and I are talking about breast cancer. I'm sure you'd agree with this, Nicky, but testicular cancer or anything that's a little bit sus. I know COVID, everybody's talking about lockdown, COVID, but other illnesses are still around. And I think a lot of people forget that, don't they? That there are other illnesses still around. I mean, I'm the same as you. It was just off chance. Somebody, you know, one of the mums from school happened to be my radiographer when I had a running injury and asked me when my last x-ray was. And I said, I don't think I've had one. She said, well, mammograms would count. And I couldn't remember. She looked it up. She said, you're due, book now. She made me book straight away. Next day I had the test, and I think within a week I was undergoing an operation, and I'm just the same as you. Thank God they got it then. Thank God they got it then.
Absolutely. And obviously now my surgery is more delayed because of COVID, and there is a backlog. But you know what? I'm just using it to my advantage, and yes, and we'll be fine. Both of us.
Yes, we will be fine, both of us. Do stay in touch. Would love to know how you go, and I'm sure a lot of people would. Thank you so much for talking to us, because I know it's a bit of an iffy subject sometimes. Some days you think, oh, I don't mind it. Other days I don't know, something comes from somewhere, you have a thought and you think, ugh. So bless you for taking time to talk to us, Nicky. Nicky Marks is just done quite inspirational. I love how we inspire any survivor of any illness, not just necessarily cancer. By telling our stories, it does inspire other people. And I hope this inspires you to get any health matter or any test that's coming up, just go and do it. As my mum used to say, my late mum used to say, a stitch in time saves 9. Sticking your head in the sand doesn't change things. So please listen, if you've got any health concerns, go and get them checked out. You're listening to Trisha Goddard here on Talk Radio.